Hey everyone, last week the Astrology Kairos collective that I'm a part of, we disbanded our weekly forecast, mostly because we have each a lot of things going on and we just wanted to break it up. But I still wanted to come on and maybe record some little snippets just for the week. It's just habitual, and I really like kind of just doing these little weekly check-ins. So this won't be a full breakdown of the week ahead. We do Wednesday to Wednesday weeks because they were Mercury inspired. But the spring equinox is happening in a couple of days, and we used that time to kind of wrap up this chapter of the Astero Sophia Kairos, doing the weekly forecasting to focus on some other things. And so I just wanted to kind of speak to this week, because last week when we announced that we weren't going to do it anymore, there was basically just one transit. It was just Mercury conjunct Mars. But this week, this Wednesday to next Wednesday, there's quite a few things. And so just wanted to hop on here live, mention those things, and I'll put it on the Astero Sophia Kairos Substack and Instagram. So today, March 18th, I'm recording at about 5:20 in the afternoon. Venus squared Jupiter earlier. These two have been coming together since August 12th of last year when they conjoined. They conjoined at the same degree in Cancer, and then Venus moved on because Venus moves faster than Jupiter. And they have gone through this series of, I'll bring up the dates because I've really been enjoying watching this cycle of the two benefics, these two planets that come together, and they say yes to things. They don't always represent inherently good for us things, but we tend to like them. So they came together firstly on August 12th, and then Venus moved in October 8th. Venus sextiled Jupiter. So that was like this, if we imagine like a conjunction for these two as a cycle, like this is a new moon today, and so think of the new moon kind of energy with Venus and Jupiter back in August last year. They came together. They were at the same part of the sky from our perspective on Earth. Then Venus moved a little faster, and so she became this kind of crescent moon, this early visibility, identifying herself outside of Jupiter. October 8th, they were in a sextile together. Sextiles are the nature of Venus, and they have this sense of wanting to work together. They have a kind of a hopeful sense to it. And then on November 2nd, she moved into Libra, and so Libra and Cancer square each other. And so there was like this tense between the two benefics. Isn't necessarily as difficult as when other planets square, but it does create this kind of dynamic tension. So they came together August 12th. There was maybe a little bit of growth by October 8th. Then November 2nd, there was kind of a hardship or some sort of thing to overcome. And then November 26th, they flowed in a trine. January 9th of this year, Venus was in Capricorn opposing that Cancer and Jupiter. So they were at this like full moon moment between the two of them. And then Venus moved into another trine on February 22nd. This was right after the eclipse last month. I don't know if you remember the eclipse on the 17th, and then in Aquarius, and then this February 22nd when Venus was in Pisces, trining Jupiter in Cancer. And then today, March 18th, they are in a square again. Venus is in Aries right now, 15 degrees. Venus is not at home in Aries. Venus is exiled there, but she's a bit spicier. And so Venus is in Aries squaring Cancer Jupiter. Jupiter just went direct too. So there's a real push today with this kind of this tension between the two benefics. I feel it. I see it in my own text threads of like just some like finally some forward movement, some good news happening. That's happening while the new moon is happening today. So the new moon will be exactly new in a couple of hours. It looks like maybe like 4 hours from now, the moon will be straight up new at the exact degree, 28 degrees, 27 minutes. So that's like the two big things that are happening today. And then the two big things happening on Friday, 2 days from now, the sun will go into Aries. This is the beginning of the zodiacal year. Aries is a tropical sign. It's when from us in the northern hemisphere, we see the sun gain in strength. So it begins to overcome the darkness. Hours after that, Mercury then goes direct. So we have 4 fairly big things already happening between today and Friday. Venus squared Jupiter, Venus squared Jupiter earlier. Today, the new moon is in Pisces in a few hours, essentially right now. And then on Friday, the sun will move into Aries, and then Mercury will go direct. Then on Saturday, on the 21st, Mars is going to trine Jupiter. Mars is currently in Pisces in the middle decan, and it will go a couple of degrees and trine Jupiter. So there'll be a flow between Mars and Jupiter. And then on the 22nd, on Sunday, the Sun and Neptune will be at the exact same degree. This is definitely one to consider, mostly because if you pay attention to astrology, you've heard people talk about Saturn and Neptune coming together. Saturn and Neptune are coming together they came together at that earliest degree. Let me get the exact moment when the Sun conjoins Neptune. So that's at 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. That's at 1 degree 50 minutes. The Saturn is also very close, but Neptune is at 0, 1. The Sun is at 0, 1. So that's another one to look at, is the Sun conjoining Neptune early that Sunday morning. Because, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, those outer ones their orbits are much slower from our perspective because of our distance. They tend to represent bigger things in the collective because we can collectively see them, we can collectively observe them. But if you do have a 0, 1, a 1 degree Aries placement, like this is happening right around that. But so just mark your calendars for the 22nd and see what you can glean. I'm not going to go into Sun conjoin Neptune, but I wanted to mention it. The other one to mention is then on Wednesday, a week from today, the 25th, Saturn and the Sun will be together. Now they're going to be together a few degrees. I think it's 4, because that's where Saturn is right now. So at 4:55 a.m. Eastern time on March 25th, Saturn and the Sun will be at 4 degrees, 43 minutes. So with that, today, Venus squares Jupiter. Having had this long synodic cycle since August 12th of last year, they've gone through this growth period. Jupiter's now direct, and they have this square, so it's like this really pushing forward movement, and hopefully a good way. Then the moon is new, and Pisces is the first Pisces new moon in a couple of years that's not eclipsed. So it does feel fresh and like unhinged from the fate or the obligations of an eclipsed moon. It just feels fresher, especially because Jupiter is direct. So the ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, and it's direct, pushing it forward. And then on Friday, the Sun goes into Aries. Mercury then goes direct in Pisces. Saturday, Mars trines Jupiter in that watery flow. Then the Sun conjoins Neptune on Sunday. And then the Sun conjoins Saturn on Wednesday. Those are the big things happening for this week. So while my collective isn't doing weeklies, I wanted to just come up here and mention it because this is a fairly big week, and we are still figuring out how we're gonna forecast. Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology and I do monthly forecasts, and we're just kind of playing around, and that's kind of the vibe for this new moon Pisces. It's just play around and find out, you get to just figure this out. I like new moon Pisces for just being in that dark space and just playing, and no obligation, no pressure of just seeing what concoctions you make, kind of like making mud pies when you're a kid. If you made mud pies, I would find fiddler crab clippers, and I would find moss, and I would find whatever, and I would just make these weird concoctions. So I would just play around with it. But the Sun in Aries also has that for me. The Sun in Aries is hopeful and it's ready to jump, but it doesn't really always know where it's jumping. And just that you don't have to have things figured out, but there's a sense of movement. And I think that you can move without any direction, just moving for the sake of moving and just getting some fresh blood and oxygen and lymph, all that kind of just like stirring up and moving to get out of these Piscean waters and just into Aries season. Then we'll ask permission or ask for forgiveness later. So next week I might jump on and talk about the Saturn Cazimi. On the 30th of March, Venus goes into Taurus, which is where she's at home. Aries season looks fairly big, but honestly, it's like the end of Aries season into Taurus season is what gets my attention the most. On April 19th, Mars will conjoin Saturn as the sun's at the anaretic degree of Aries. That's a big one. But Mandy, Ray, and I we will talk about that on the forecast ahead. And if we do a weekly, we'll just jump on here or put it on Substack. But I just wanted to mention a lot of fortune, a lot of spirit, and descendant at 0 to 5 degrees Aries. That's incredible. I took a workshop with Meghna Bhagat I guess a month ago, and she had this really beautiful way of going into the myth of Saturn and Venus. I'll see if I can't link her Instagram on here, because it was such a potent way to look at those early degrees, the very early degrees of Aries, and look at the myth of Saturn and Gaia and Uranus and the duty that Saturn went through to free and liberate himself and save Gaia and save all his siblings in order for Venus to be born out of the seas of Neptune is so incredible. And the way that she laid it out was to consider those early degrees of Aries as this infinite possibility of beauty coming from things, even out of like things that are kind of ugly or difficult or challenging or Marsy, or out of martyrdom can come art. So like a lot of fortune, a lot of spirit. I mean, I would look at, your zodiacal releasing being on the descendant. I would also look at, is this going to happen around you or kind of come through you? I just think that like you have the potential with that sun and Aries going in there, with Neptune maybe like helping disperse into the light. I don't know, that like the potential of like beautiful, artistic, creative connections with other people. The potential is there. That's like the good thing about Aries. We get to choose our own adventure. And with the early degrees of Aries, Aries is intense, but it's also like such hope, and like hope springs eternal every year. Hope destroys everything else. Like if you can hold on to that hope, that urge, to me, that's the sun in Aries. So, thank you for joining. Thank you for commenting. And, on Friday, I'm launching the Deck and Walk on Substack. It's free. And if you're interested in deck and walking at all, or don't know what that is, and want to find out, go to Substack, the Deck and Walk. I've been putting it on my stories, but I'm really excited. The way I've been describing it is like, I will be on the playground pushing the merry-go-round for everyone to jump on and jump off of their own Deck and Walk. But I will be pushing it. I will be holding that framework so that the wheel keeps spinning for the Decans, and you can come on and ride for a couple of Decans or ride for a season and fall back off. Susan Chang put on her podcast today about Deck and Walks. She's like, the Decans were associated with small gods, with the daimons or with these small deities. So you can just do very small things for Deck and Walks. It doesn't have to be these big grandiose plans. But most people that start a Deck and Walk don't finish it. It's kind of like the astrologer or tarot artist way. Like the true way to do the artist way is to not finish it. And to me, Deck and Walks kind of have that. People just don't stay on it. And so I created this for myself. And usually when you create something for yourself, if you share it with one other person, if it's helpful, then it's worth to do. So I'm doing it. It's free. And you can just sign up. I'll just send you one email for the Decan and lots of resources. But it's me building on the work that I've already done with the Decans. And it's clearly what I love to talk about. That's my Sun into Aries, Mercury direct. That's my Decan walk this year, is to steward it for everyone else that wants to walk it. That's kind of my my ascendant ruler in the 11th house, ruled by Mercury. So I think that's it. And I've got to run. But thanks. All right. Bye, y'all.